Good morning, and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News. Well, good morning, and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. Sorry that I was a little bit late, but let's get started with honoring God with our body. So, God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect our ears and help us listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect our eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help my hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. And God, please protect our reproductive organs and help us to honor you, God, with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet and help us walk along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And amen. And if you are joining us here for the first time this morning on Unfiltered Vision News, we definitely try to start our day off on the right foot, and that requires, us honoring God with our bodies. So let's get started with trending topics on X. So Trump calls DC mayoral nominee Janice Lewis George a communist over crime policies. Okay, he just came up with the whole C word. He was just like, no holding back. We're not doing democratic socialism. You're just communist, straight up. Like, wow. Okay. And Ilham Omar dances at Minneapolis Somali independence celebration, and it's sparking backlash. And I think with her in particular, I won't spend too much time on this. It's just that people really want members of Congress to be about America first. And that's not a bad thing because we live here in America. Yes, we are a melting pot of different cultures, but those cultures don't put their loyalty to another country above America. And I think that's one thing that she's really going to have to sort out with the American people. So if people see her and you're like, well, I'm a Somali American. Why aren't you just an American that came from Somalia? That's the difference. And I think that's really what people want to see from all of our members of Congress, regardless, right? Whether they were born here or born somewhere else. It's about you being an American first. Your country, wherever you were born at, second, because your loyalty should be here. Now, the Supreme Court upholds state grace periods for late mail-in ballots. Now, this has really been a point of contention. It really, really has. And a lot of people said, people have been cheating with the grace periods and the votes. I've even had a little bit of speculation myself, especially with the Spencer Pratt voting situation. And it was mainly because the individual that was in third place, the councilwoman, who is now in second place above Spencer Pratt, right? How did her votes go up exponentially, but it didn't affect the governor's race? Everything's on the same ballot. You can't affect the local race without affecting the state race, because they're all on the same ballot. So you mean everybody that voted for her didn't vote for anybody at the governorship? Like nothing changed. Had it been right, in my opinion, Steve Hinton, he wouldn't be in second place right now. He couldn't be. It would be a mathematical impossibility. But what's also a mathematical impossibility is that all the votes came in for her. None for the incumbent. None for Spencer Pratt. It just shows too much faulty in our state elections. And so with that, states need to do better. And that means better representation. That's it. So let's check this out. So I looked at it, and it says the ruling in Watson versus Republican National Committee, written by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, held that federal laws set election day for voter choices, not ballot receipt, allowing Mississippi's 5-business-day grace period and similar rules in 14 states. Now, challengers, including the RNC, argued federal statutes preempt such extensions, right? But the majority emphasized state flexibility in processing. That's where it is. So dissenters like Justice Alito warned of fraud risk, okay, while President Trump decried it as a loss and pushed the SAVE Act. Voting advocates celebrated expanded access for military and rural voters. Well, they already had it. They always had it. The problem is when you don't receive it at a certain juncture. And here's my problem. They're giving these grace periods, but we're supposed to have election day, not election month, not election season. In California, it's just election season. It just keeps rolling over because they're never done, because they can never get everything counted on time. So if your process is so inefficient, fix it. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. It really is crazy. And so I dug down the rabbit hole. That's why I was late. I'm so sorry. So I asked, with the recent decision from the Supreme Court on mail-in ballots, will this change the USPS using a review of voter database? And so what's happening are kind of two things here. And I'm going to play two videos for you guys, one on the ruling and then the other on the U.S. Postmaster General. And what he's saying is they do have a list of registered voters, and they want to make sure those voters get their ballot. But Congress sees that as interference. How could that be interference? What if one of the voters had passed away and a mail and a mail carrier is like, yeah, that person's not there. They don't live at that address. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying there has to be some checks and balances and trust somewhere. And even pointed out Oregon, when they went to their all mail-in voting, because that's how they do their voting, there was no issue. So why are they bringing this up now? Very interesting. So let's check it out.
Developing news, mail-in ballots that are postmarked by Election Day will still be counted even if they arrive days later. That is what the U.S. Supreme Court has decided in a ruling today. KIRO 7's Nia Bliss talked with people on both sides of this issue. So, Nia, the debate over the vote-by-mail timeline is far from over despite this ruling.
Yeah, but with the primary election just a few months away, the King County Elections Director says she's feeling relief. And we know this because we obtained a letter from her telling her staff this today. However, this ruling is being met with mixed feelings. In Watson v. Republican National Committee, the Supreme Court voted 5-4 to uphold a Mississippi law allowing mail-in ballots to be counted as long as they're postmarked by Election Day. In Washington state, that could be up to around 20 days.
I like to vote by mail because everything is secure.
Bankole has been voting by mail since becoming a citizen 20 years ago, saying he's had no problems with the system, and he's not the only one happy with the SCOTUS ruling.
Our mail-in voting that has been around for a while, and I'm very pleased that it happened.
Voters like Boyd Jarman prefer to vote in person, but says he understands why mail-in voting is popular.
That's a great thing for people that can't go in person or that are disabled, right?
He feels ballots that are delivered by Election Day should be counted and is hesitant for ballots arriving later.
There is part of me that if you have to wait 20 days, then things could happen in those 20 days.
Representative Jim Walsh, who is the chair of the Washington GOP, disagrees with SCOTUS's ruling.
Our official position is we're disappointed, but we're not deterred.
Representative Walsh says he doesn't want to get rid of mail-in voting, but it questions the security of Washington's system. Secretary Hobbs says he's still waiting for Representative Walsh to come up with proof.
My words to Jim Walsh is the fact that look at our state. I mean, we had 90 million votes cast in a 10-year period, and there's only 5 cases of fraud that we identified.
While Washington's mail-in ballot deadline is in the clear, Secretary Hobbs says with changes to the USPS on the way and a pending ruling, he is urging voters to get their ballots in early and to use state drop boxes like this one over here. Reporting live in Renton, Nia Bliss, Cairo 7 News.
It's interesting because he said the 5 that we identified. Identifying something and actually doing a full scrub, 2 different things. Audit is needed everywhere because there's so much fraud. There is so much criminal activity within our legislative process. People are just, they are feeling like their votes don't matter and they don't count and they feel abused by the system. But let's check out the U.S. Postmaster General. I think that's his full title.
I think it's clear that there's nowhere in the Constitution, there's no federal law that the Postal Service is authorized to create these types of voter databases, ballot verification systems, or mandatory standards. It just simply doesn't exist. It's hard to interpret a law when it doesn't even exist there, which is what we have. Just because President Trump wants to do this does not make it law, doesn't make it right, doesn't make it constitutional. There is certainly a massive difference between general mail requirements and regulating elections. Routine changes to the postal network can have a small impact on election mail, but this effort is a power grab to swap constitutionally mandated state control for what the president wants. I think it's very clear. So last year, Mr. Steiner, you issued a rule that explicitly said that the Postal Service has, quote, no role in administering elections. What has changed?
I don't think anything has changed. Senator, I'm not a political person, and the Postal Service is not a political organization. We, as you said, I think you quite aptly said, we deliver mail. That's what we do. We deliver mail. And that's what ballots are. Ballots are mail. Now, they are a special kind of mail, obviously. They need special care. And so years ago, we recommended what we call Kit 600. In Kit 600, the fundamental premises of Kit 600 is a unique barcode and a unique envelope. That allows us to move those ballots more efficiently, more securely. That is what our proposed rules suggest, is that we have unique barcode, unique envelope. And that is not something that is new. That's something that's been being used by states throughout the country on both sides of the political spectrum. So California has followed it, Oregon has followed it, Arizona has followed it, Florida has followed it, among many other states. And so, to me, it's not a political question. It's a question of how do we most efficiently and securely move ballots. We've been recommending this for many years. All this does is make it a requirement.
Well, certainly best practices are different than having a mandatory requirement. You could follow best practices to deliver it more efficiently without having control of vast voter rolls and having the ability to have that data. This is basically a backdoor way for the federal government to get voting information that states control under the U.S. Constitution. So yes or no, if a state refuses to turn their absentee voter list over to the federal government, will the Postal Service still mail their ballots under this proposal route?
Under our proposed regulation, no. We would tell the state that we need the manifest in order to, look, what we're asking for.
That's the answer. You would tell no. So the proposed rule basically coerces states to conform to these new requirements and hand over their absentee voter rolls or face the consequences of not being able to vote by mail. Some states, that's all they do. Oregon is completely vote by mail. If they say, no, we control the list, the states control the list, we're not going to give it.
Oregon has followed Kit 600 since the day they started voting by mail.
This is a different issue. This will be a lot different issue. You're telling these states either give the federal government this information, trust the federal government, trust the Trump administration. We'll take good care of these. And if you don't do it, you can't mail absentee ballots. You're going to make a decision that people cannot vote by mail. That's unacceptable.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
all that does, Senator, is make sure that we match the ballots that a state believes they're sending out to what actually gets sent out, right? And so all the state gives us is a list of here are the voters that are supposed to get ballots and here are the ballots. We then compare the two, make sure that the ballots that are supposed to be sent get sent. If Maryland had followed that, they probably wouldn't be in the problem they're in today. So it is a much more efficient, a much more effective way to make sure that states, I would think that states would want the information to ensure that the ballots that they think are sending out are the ballots that are actually being sent out.
Well, they do know what they're dropping mail. I think they can understand that. They think if they put an address with their voter rolls on a piece of mail for a ballot and give it to you, they do expect you're actually going to deliver it. You don't have to say, we want all of your information. We want that information in our control. You mentioned Maryland. I think that was a printing error. This regulation wouldn't have done nothing to fix what happened in Maryland. The states control their own elections. That's pretty clear in the Constitution. And an effort by this administration to nationalize elections and have the federal government having this information is incredibly dangerous precedent. You can imagine sharing this information with the Department of Homeland Security and using these lists for a variety of nefarious purposes. We need to protect the integrity of the voting rolls. We need to
Why did DHS come up? I just wanted to point that out.
protect the separation of elections from federal government and ensure that our state and local governments are the one administering their own elections. That's what this is about.
Well, we are the Postal Service. All we do is deliver mail. We're trying to deliver it securely, efficiently, and accurately.
And that's it, right? And to the postmaster's point, it does make sense. We have a list of your voters. We want to make sure that those voters get their ballots. Let's just say they have a voter, but they don't have the ballot. They can actually go back to the state and be like, hey, you have this person on your absentee list, but we don't have a ballot for them. What happened? Or vice versa, right? I'm just saying, we've got a ballot, but that person isn't on the list. We want to make sure, but for that representative, he might have been a senator, because I think that's the senator's room, for you to bring up, well, we don't want, what if DHS wants that information? What if they do? What's the problem? What are you afraid of? You have all of our information. Are you high? Do you pay taxes? Yes, the government has our information. Were you born here and you have a social security number? Yes, the government has your information. What are you talking about? Weird. Okay. He's strange. And I really respect the U.S. Post General. He was great. He was great. He was just like, Oregon's been following it. What are you talking about? And if Maryland had followed it, they wouldn't be in the situation they're in, which means more than likely there were people that were absentee ballots and they didn't get their ballots because they didn't turn over that information to the post office. It's just the post office using this. So where's the government coming in? Oh, you're upset because the government wants access to those lists. You're upset because some people that should be voting are voting. I'm sorry, it's going to come out and it's coming out, and y'all are terrified. But now you're thinking, oh, we're just going to be able to hide and keep doing what we're doing. You're not going to be in office forever. I'm telling you, a new day is coming when somebody is going to start working in these spaces in different places and say, hey, things aren't right here, and fix everything. So thank you for letting us know that you don't care. But I wanted to also give this little blast from the past from Benny Johnson.
We're outside of a very important place here in California. You'll see it's just home to a porta-john and a giant empty parking lot. But inside of this empty parking lot is something really important in the state of California. As you can see here, we have registered voters. 26 registered voters for this exact location, 100 Sunset Avenue in Venice. 26 registered voters right here, according to the registrar and the Secretary of State. 26 people registered to a porta-john and an empty parking lot. Where do their ballots go exactly? So who's picking up the ballots? Who's voting for the people in this lovely porta-john empty lot? That's the question. I think you know the answer.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Yeah. So obviously, and he said California is following it. But where are those ballots being delivered to? Or are they being delivered at all? Those are the bigger questions. We've already seen videos of people, and somebody's actually, been charged with paying people to vote, which is illegal everywhere. Yeah. So we've got empty lots. We've got, senators yelling. We got a Supreme Court that says, hey, it doesn't have to be election day as long as it's postmarked. Okay. So they can't backdate anything, but as long as it's postmarked. So if it's postmarked, you have anywhere from 5 to 20 days in some cases, in some states. I think California, they're still counting ballots. I'm not sure if they're done. We'll have to check on that. Yeah, it's June 30th. I think they're still, yeah. Yeah. And that's ridiculous. It really, really is. But I wanted to go back to this, and this is another reason why President Trump wants to say, have the SAVE Act to protect our elections. And you can see how riled up that senator was, our representative, because hey, so on June 29th, the Supreme Court ruled 5-4, right, that states can continue counting mail-in ballots that are postmarked by Election Day, but arrive afterward within state specific grace periods. And what people have found is that, are they being stamped properly or not? And I want to say they have the drop boxes. Are those drop boxes being picked up and processed when they go in there? And that's the thing. When you take your ballot to a box, you're just putting it in the box. It's not being stamped. It's not being postmarked. Like there's nothing there saying when you're actually delivering the ballot. And to me, there should be like a little, I don't know, almost like a little Pitney Bowes thing. You put it in there and it stamps it, and then you drop it in the box. That's easy. In my opinion, that's easy enough. Do that. But, there's probably risk of vandalism and all the kinds of stuff. I think one of the mailboxes in California was burned, and some of the ballots were burned on the inside. Who were those ballots for? I wonder. Yeah. And we'll keep wondering, as we'll never know, because they'll never investigate it. They'll just talk about it and nothing will ever get done. This is why people don't trust those in certain parts of our country and government. So the USPS and voter database review. So separately, there's been controversy around Trump executive order, which was around March 26, directing the USPS and other agencies like DHS, which is probably where he brought it up, to get involved in voter eligibility for mail ballots. This includes creating a using federal citizenship list from databases like the Social Security and SAVE, requiring states to share voter mail-in ballots with UPS. I'm sorry, not UPS, USPS. USPS potentially refusing to deliver mail-in ballots in states that don't comply or for voters not on approved list. You've already heard the Postmaster General say, we have a special system for this. We've been processing this stuff for years. Really, nothing's changed. It's just now that they're required to have these lists, they're afraid of DHS getting involved because that means if there are people voting in elections that shouldn't be, even though they're on the absentee list, yeah, DHS is coming for you. Which they keep saying is not happening. Then why are you afraid? Why are you scared? That's all my thing is. If you're doing what's right, why are you scared? It's because you're not. That's it. So this has sparked lawsuits from Democrat-led states, shocker, voting rights groups and others arguing it exceeds USPS authority, right? And infringes on states' constitutional role in running elections. Some court actions have blocked or limited parts of it. So USPS has historically used tools like national change of address, data informally for verification challenges in some locales, but it does not maintain its own comprehensive voter eligibility database. And its core role is neutral mail delivery, not eligibility screening. So they don't really care. Like I said, he even said, he goes, we're just matching up the ballots with the list to make sure that that person gets it. So if I've got a ballot and I don't have a name on the list, I need to go back to the registrar and say, hey, I've got a ballot for this person, but they're not on this list. Did they move? Have they passed? Like, what's happening? That's a check and balance. Or they have somebody on the list and there's no ballots to match up to the person on the list. It's real simple. Either way, they just want the information so they can get the ballots to the persons so they can vote. That's all they're trying to do. And what other people are worried about, because it's Donald Trump, oh my gosh, he's going to try to, check eligibility. They're not doing it. They're not checking eligibility. But what you don't want is you don't want DHS to have access to that list. Just say it. And why would you be concerned? I'm not concerned if DHS sees my name. Why would I be concerned? Because I'm a citizen here. That's why I'm not concerned. But other people are, apparently. So does the SCOTUS ruling affect us? No, there's no direct connection. The ruling is narrow. It interprets federal election day statutes regarding ballot receipt deadlines. And here's my thing. If you don't like the deadlines going on in your state, then get on the Board of Elections at the local level and at the state level. If you don't like what's happening, and make sure that your state has election day, because this is what they can't stop. They cannot stop states from having election day. They can't. They can't say, oh, you have to have election week, or you have. They can't do that. And the more efficient states become with their electoral system, I guarantee you their populations are going to increase because those individuals are going to feel like their vote matters. And then other states will start to follow suit because more people will start to say, you know what, we want to make sure that our elections are top notch and above board. And we want to do everything that we can to ensure that so everybody feels secure in the election process, right? So in short, mail-in ballots with timely postmarks can still be counted under state rules per SCOTUS, but Broader fights over federal USPS involvement in voter data and delivery eligibility continue independently in the courts and politically. So outcomes will depend on those other cases and state actions ahead of the midterms. Yeah, people are concerned, as they should be. But again, it's one of those things that's always up to us. So make sure you check out the USA Redemption Party at usaredemptionparty.com. We are looking for servants of the people, not politicians, and also for members to join the party to encourage others to, redeem this country. So thank you guys so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News, and we will see you on the other side.